Most people over 60 use cloves the wrong way. Not because cloves don't have potential benefits, but because a few simple mistakes can dramatically reduce the amount of their natural plant compounds that remain by the time you consume them. I know that feeling. You buy a spice because you've heard wonderful things about it. You add it to your tea, your coffee, or your favorite recipes every single day, believing you're doing something good for your body. But what if your daily routine is quietly working against you instead of for you? A while ago, I spoke with an older gentleman who had been using cloves faithfully for months. He was convinced he was getting every possible benefit. But after we walked through his routine together, we discovered several small habits that were preventing him from getting the most out of them. None of the mistakes were obvious. In fact, they're the same mistakes many people make every day without realizing it. The truth is, cloves contain natural compounds that researchers have studied for their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. But like many herbs and spices, how you prepare them, how you store them, what you pair them with, and even when you use them can influence the final result. That's why today's video isn't about telling you to eat more cloves. It's about helping you avoid the mistakes that may be reducing their value before they ever reach your cup. We'll count down the 5 most common mistakes from least to most important, explain the science behind each one in simple language, and finish with the one mistake that matters most, especially if you're over 60 or take daily medications. Let's get started. If you're still watching, I'm guessing you're not looking for another miracle cure. You're simply looking for honest answers. Maybe you've heard friends talk about cloves. Maybe you've seen videos claiming they're one of the most powerful spices on earth. So you started adding them to your tea. You sprinkle them into your meals. You even bought a fresh jar hoping they would help support your joints, your heart, or your overall health. But after weeks or even months, nothing seemed different. I know that feeling. It can be frustrating when you honestly believe you're making healthy choices, yet you wonder if they're actually making any difference at all. A few years ago, I had a conversation with an older gentleman who proudly told me he hadn't missed a single day of drinking clove tea for almost a year. He was convinced he was doing everything exactly right. So instead of asking how much he drank, I asked something much simpler. Show me exactly how you prepare it. Within just a few minutes, several small habits immediately stood out. None of them looked like mistakes. In fact, they're the same things most of us would naturally do without thinking twice. And that's what makes this topic so important. Think of cloves like a beautifully wrapped gift. Inside that tiny spice are natural plant compounds that researchers have studied for their antioxidant properties and other potential health effects. But if you expose that gift to the wrong conditions, too much heat, too much air, too much time, or the wrong companions, you gradually lose part of what made it valuable in the first place. It's a little like squeezing fresh orange juice. Leave it sitting uncovered on the kitchen counter all day, and it simply isn't the same as when it was freshly prepared. The juice is still there, but some of its freshness has already faded. The same idea applies to many herbs and spices. Preparation matters. Timing matters. Storage matters. And if you take medications, safety matters too. That's why so many expensive supplements disappoint people. They often convince us that buying the product is the hard part. In reality, using it wisely is usually far more important than simply owning it. The good news is that every mistake we're about to discuss is surprisingly easy to fix. No expensive equipment, no complicated recipes, no impossible routines. Just a few small adjustments that may help you get the best from a spice you've probably had sitting in your kitchen all along. So let's begin with mistake number 5, the one that starts the very moment you put a pot of water on the stove. Before we get into today's countdown, let's talk about one idea that explains almost every mistake people make with herbs and spices. Imagine you buy a fresh basket of strawberries. They look beautiful. They're packed with natural compounds. But if you leave them sitting in the hot sun all afternoon, they won't be the same by dinner. The strawberries didn't suddenly become bad. They simply lost some of what made them fresh in the first place. Many of the natural compounds found in herbs and spices behave in a similar way. Some are sensitive to heat. Others gradually change when exposed to air, moisture, or light. That's why preparing a healthy food correctly can matter just as much as choosing the healthy food itself. Cloves are a perfect example. Researchers have studied cloves because they naturally contain compounds with antioxidant and other biological properties. But those compounds aren't indestructible. How you store them, prepare them, and consume them can influence what remains by the time they reach your cup. That's why today's countdown isn't about adding more cloves. It's about avoiding the habits that may reduce their potential before you even take the first sip. Let's begin. Mistake number 5, cooking cloves too aggressively. This is probably the easiest mistake to make. Many people believe that the longer something boils, the stronger it becomes. It sounds logical. More heat, more time, more flavor. So surely that means more benefit. But nature doesn't always work that way. Think of cooking herbs like watering a delicate flower. A gentle shower helps it thrive. A pressure washer would destroy it. Many aromatic compounds found in spices are volatile, meaning they're responsible for the fragrance you notice when you open a jar or prepare a hot drink. Those compounds can change with prolonged exposure to high temperatures. That's why many recipes for herbal infusions recommend pouring hot water over the herbs and allowing them to steep rather than boiling them vigorously for long periods. For cloves, a simple approach is often enough. Bring water close to a boil. Remove it from the heat. Add a few whole cloves. Cover the cup and allow it to steep for several minutes before drinking. Keeping the cup covered helps retain the aromatic vapors that would otherwise escape into the air. Using whole cloves instead of pre-ground cloves can also help preserve freshness until you're ready to prepare them. Pros: easy to do, doesn't require special equipment, helps preserve flavor and aroma. Cons: steeping isn't appropriate for every recipe. Stronger isn't always better. More cloves don't necessarily mean more benefit. Before we continue, if you're finding this information useful and enjoy learning simple, practical ways to get more from everyday foods, I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps us continue creating well-researched content like this. Now, let's move to mistake number 4. Mistake number 4: using cloves at a time that doesn't suit you. Here's something many people never think about. Not every healthy habit works equally well at every moment of the day. Some people drink clove tea first thing in the morning on a completely empty stomach. Others enjoy it immediately after a large, rich meal. For some people, either approach may be perfectly comfortable. For others, especially older adults or those with sensitive digestion, it may not be. Think of your stomach like a fireplace. If you throw a log onto a roaring fire, it behaves differently than placing it onto a small, steady flame. Your digestive system also changes with age, and comfort can vary from person to person. A gentle approach often works best. Many people find that enjoying clove tea after a light meal or snack is more comfortable than drinking it on a completely empty stomach. If cloves seem to cause stomach discomfort, reducing the amount or changing the timing may help. But persistent symptoms should always be discussed with a healthcare professional. Another practical tip is to avoid treating clove tea as a replacement for water throughout the day. Instead, think of it as one small part of an overall healthy eating pattern. Pros: may be easier on digestion for some people. Fits naturally into a daily routine. Encourages mindful use rather than overuse. Cons: the ideal timing varies from person to person. Those with digestive conditions may need individualized advice. We've only covered the first 2 mistakes, and they're already enough to make a noticeable difference in how you prepare cloves. But wait until we reach the top 3. That's where we move beyond preparation and start talking about combinations, freshness, and one important safety consideration that every adult over 60 should understand before making cloves a daily habit. Now we're entering the top 3. This is where many people unknowingly lose most of the value they're hoping to get from cloves. Not because they're buying the wrong cloves, not because they're preparing them incorrectly, but because of what they consume alongside them. Sometimes the smallest habits create the biggest difference. Let's continue. Mistake number 3: pairing cloves with the wrong drinks. Imagine you just cleaned every window in your house. The sunlight is finally pouring through. Then someone immediately pulls the curtains closed. The sunshine hasn't disappeared. It's simply being blocked. Some foods and drinks can have a similar effect on the way your body handles certain plant compounds. Researchers have found that different foods can influence the absorption of naturally occurring antioxidants, although the effect varies depending on the compound and the meal. That's why it's worth thinking about what you consume alongside your clove tea. Many people enjoy cloves with a large mug of coffee or strong black tea. Others stir them into creamy drinks loaded with sugar. There's nothing inherently forbidden about these combinations. But if your goal is simply to enjoy cloves on their own, it often makes sense to give them their own moment. Think of cloves as the lead singer in a concert. If 5 other bands are playing at the same time, it's much harder to hear the voice you're actually trying to listen to. A simple cup of clove tea with plain water is often enough. If you'd like a little extra flavor, a squeeze of fresh lemon or a thin slice of fresh ginger can make the drink more enjoyable for many people. The important thing isn't creating the perfect recipe. It's keeping the routine simple enough that you'll actually continue it. Pros: simple preparation, easy to make part of a daily routine. Lets the natural flavor of cloves stand out. Cons: strong flavor isn't for everyone. Some people may prefer to dilute the taste with additional ingredients. Small changes like this may seem insignificant, but healthy habits are rarely built from one giant decision. They're built from dozens of tiny ones. And now we come to a mistake that almost nobody notices until it's already happened. Mistake number 2: using cloves that have lost their freshness. Let me ask you a simple question. When was the last time you replaced the cloves sitting in your kitchen? If you're like many people, you probably don't remember. Spices often stay in the cupboard for years because they don't spoil the way fresh fruit or vegetables do. But freshness and safety aren't the same thing. Think about opening a bottle of sparkling water. The first day it's full of bubbles. Leave it open for a week. It's still safe to drink, but isn't the same drink anymore. Many aromatic compounds and spices gradually fade over time, especially after the spice has been ground into a powder. Exposure to air, light, heat, and moisture slowly reduces the strength of their aroma. And that aroma is often a clue that those delicate compounds are changing. That's one reason many cooks prefer buying whole spices whenever possible. Whole cloves naturally protect their aromatic oils better than pre-ground cloves. Then, when you're ready to use them, you can steep them whole or grind only the amount you need. Storage also matters. Keep cloves in an airtight container. Store them in a cool, dry, dark cupboard. Avoid placing them above the stove where they're exposed to heat and steam every day. A simple freshness test is easy. Rub a whole clove gently between your fingers. If it releases a rich, spicy aroma, it's probably still in good condition. If the smell is faint or dusty, it's likely time for a fresh jar. Pros: better flavor, better aroma, helps you get the best quality from the spice. Cons: whole cloves usually cost slightly more. They take a little longer to prepare. We've covered preparation. We've covered timing. We've covered pairing. We've covered freshness. But the most important point of today's entire video has nothing to do with recipes at all. It has to do with safety. Because our number one mistake isn't about making cloves less effective. It's about using them without considering how they fit into the rest of your health routine. If you're over 60, or if you take daily medications, you'll want to stay with me for the final section. That one conversation could be the most valuable part of today's video. We've finally reached the number one mistake. And interestingly, it has nothing to do with how you prepare cloves. It has nothing to do with how long you steep them. It has nothing to do with where you store them. It has everything to do with understanding your own body. Mistake number 1: assuming natural always means risk-free. This is probably the most important lesson in today's entire video. Many people hear the word natural and immediately assume it means completely safe for everyone. I understand why. Natural sounds gentle, comforting, harmless. But nature is incredibly powerful. Think about sunlight. A little sunshine helps your body produce vitamin D. Too much sunshine without protection can damage your skin. The same principle applies to herbs and spices. Cloves contain naturally occurring plant compounds that researchers continue to study for their biological activity. That also means they have the potential to interact with certain medications or health conditions. If you take prescription medicines, especially medicines related to blood clotting, diabetes, or other long-term conditions, it is important to speak with your healthcare professional before making concentrated herbal preparations a daily habit. That doesn't mean cloves are bad. It means they deserve the same respect you would give any substance that can affect the body. Knowledge is what keeps natural remedies both useful and safe. A simple daily clove routine. If your healthcare professional has told you cloves are appropriate for you, keeping the routine simple is often the best approach. Here's an example. Step 1. Choose fresh whole cloves whenever possible. Store them in an airtight container in a cool, dry cupboard away from heat and direct sunlight. Step 2. Prepare 1 cup by pouring hot, not aggressively boiling, water over about 3 to 5 whole cloves. Cover the cup and allow it to steep for approximately 8 to 10 minutes. Step 3. If you enjoy a little extra flavor, add a slice of fresh lemon or ginger after steeping. Avoid adding large amounts of sugar. Step 4. Drink it slowly as part of a balanced diet rather than expecting 1 cup to transform your health. Healthy habits work together. No single food or spice can replace regular physical activity, adequate sleep, a nutritious eating pattern, or medical care when it's needed. Your 30-day Clove Habit Challenge. Instead of expecting dramatic changes in just a few days, focus on building one consistent habit. Days 1 to 7. Learn the preparation method. Use fresh whole cloves. Practice storing them correctly. Notice whether you enjoy the flavor and whether the drink fits comfortably into your routine. Days 8 to 14. Keep the timing consistent. Pair your clove tea with a light meal if that feels best for your digestion. Stay well hydrated throughout the day. Days 15 to 21. Pay attention to your overall routine, not just the cloves. Are you sleeping well? Eating balanced meals? Moving your body regularly? Those habits often work together. Days 22 to 30. By now, making your tea should feel effortless. Take a moment to reflect on the bigger picture. The goal wasn't to discover a miracle spice. The goal was to become more intentional about how you care for your health every single day. That's a habit worth keeping. Remember, healthy aging rarely comes from one ingredient. It's the result of hundreds of small choices repeated consistently over months and years. A cup of thoughtfully prepared clove tea can certainly be part of that lifestyle, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. The real transformation comes from combining good nutrition, regular movement, quality sleep, stress management, and informed decisions about the foods and herbs you choose. And that's the message I hope stays with you long after today's video ends. Now that you know the 5 biggest mistakes, you can prepare cloves with greater confidence, avoid common pitfalls, and make choices that fit your own health needs. Let's bring everything together in the conclusion. If there's one lesson I hope you take away from today's video, it's this. The real power of cloves isn't found in using more of them. It's found in using them wisely. We've talked about 5 simple mistakes today. Some happen before the cloves ever touch your cup. Some happen while you're drinking them. And one of them has nothing to do with the spice itself. It has everything to do with understanding your own health. The good news is that every one of these mistakes can be corrected. You don't need a brand new supplement. You don't need an expensive wellness program. And you certainly don't need to make your daily routine complicated. Sometimes the biggest improvements begin with the smallest changes. A better preparation method, a fresher jar of spices, a little more patience, and a little more understanding of how your body works. I know how easy it is to become discouraged. You read one article that tells you cloves are amazing. The next one says they don't work. Someone on social media calls them a miracle. Someone else says they're useless. After a while, it's hard to know what to believe. That's exactly why I encourage you to stay away from extremes. Healthy aging isn't built on miracle claims. It's built on thoughtful, consistent habits repeated over time. Think about your health like a savings account. One healthy meal won't change your future overnight. Neither will one cup of clove tea. But every good choice you make is another small deposit. Day after day, week after week, year after year, those deposits add up. And one day, you realize you're standing on a foundation you built yourself. That's why I encourage you to take the simple 30-day challenge. Not because I expect one spice to transform your life, but because 30 days is long enough to create a habit you'll hardly have to think about anymore. Your simple 30-day plan. Week 1. Replace old or stale cloves with fresh whole cloves. Store them correctly in a cool, dark place. Learn the gentle steeping method instead of aggressively boiling them. Week 2. Keep your preparation consistent. If cloves fit your health needs, enjoy them as part of a balanced lifestyle rather than expecting instant results. Notice how easy the routine becomes. Week 3. Pay attention to your overall habits. Stay hydrated. Choose balanced meals. Move your body every day. Get enough sleep. Those daily choices work together far better than any single ingredient ever could. Week 4. By now, preparing your clove tea should feel completely natural. Instead of asking, did this spice change my life? Ask yourself a better question. Have I become more consistent in taking care of my health? Because that's the habit that truly lasts. One more thing before we finish. Natural ingredients have been part of traditional cooking and wellness practices for generations. They deserve respect, but they should never replace medical care when it's needed. If you live with a long-term health condition or take prescription medications, always include your doctor or pharmacist in the conversation before making concentrated herbal products part of your daily routine. That isn't a limitation. It's simply the smartest way to enjoy natural food safely. And remember, the healthiest kitchen isn't always the one filled with expensive supplements and complicated products. Sometimes it's the one filled with simple ingredients, prepared thoughtfully, enjoyed in moderation, and supported by healthy daily habits. That's a lesson worth carrying with you, not just for cloves, but for every healthy choice you make. If today's video helped you see this familiar spice in a new way, I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment to like this video. It helps more people discover practical, evidence-informed health information without the hype. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever used cloves before? Which of today's 5 mistakes surprised you the most? Or is there another traditional kitchen ingredient you'd like us to explore in a future video? Your experience might encourage someone else who's watching today. And if you enjoy calm, trustworthy discussions about healthy aging, natural foods, and simple habits that fit everyday life, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Take care of yourself. Be patient with your body. Keep learning. Keep making those small daily choices, because they really do matter. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay healthy, stay hopeful, and keep on healing.